September 4th is finally here. The 3-day novel contest has finished and the price of a body is done, sent off, and it has been accepted as an entry. They're going to judge it, make sure it fits everything, and I'm ecstatic. This has been such an incredible journey these past 3 days, and actually it's really hard to believe that, there's a part of me that feels like it was just over like that, and then the other part feels like I've been doing this for an incredibly long time. For the finished word count, the submitted manuscript's word count was 50,713 words. That's just the number of words that actually made it in. The ones that did not, I actually wound up writing closer to 60,000 words by the time all was said and done. Yesterday's word count was actually to the finished project 23,573. And it's all pure fiction, all going to that one story. When I add in what I wrote for like notes for the world building, bits for scenes that weren't quite working, and such like that, I actually got 28,978 words in, which was that is past my highest goal ever. And I'm really excited about that, not only because I pushed myself past what I had already achieved, but also because this was fiction. And before this, my highest word count was actually for mostly fiction, and those were in the days when I was working as I was actually working as a writer for a content mill, desperately trying to write enough articles to pay the bills, and trying to pay for food and electricity, and there's an enormous incentive, and that day was one in which, oh my goodness, it had just been bill after bill after bill. And so yeah, when you're looking at that, it makes it much easier to keep going and keep going. And in general, those were topics that I felt much more comfortable writing about, whereas with this, it's fiction. I have to come up with all of it, and this story was one, even though I kept it ambiguous to a degree. Like, I decide that I want to work this into one of the worlds that's been separated from the Torah. At some point, I probably could, and it would work all right. Maybe not set on it, but it also works as its own independent world, and I'm extraordinarily happy about that, because I kind of wanted to have both of those. However, if you have read Torah Chronicles, you can probably identify which races are showing up in here and why. Now, as far as my overall takeaway, this was just really great about smashing through my preconceptions about what I could do and what I couldn't. As far as the word count goes, in general, I wasn't that concerned about that, because I do try regularly to write at a fairly high level, and it's something that I've just built into. The problem came down to finishing these stories, and could I finish this one story, and would my inspiration give out for that story, as I'd mentioned often happens. Now, thankfully, I did hit some points, but I added one other challenge in on this to really push myself forward and to give me something else to worry about, and that was doing these videos, because I get very nervous about doing the videos. I often do multiple takes because I'm trying to get it right, and this time I didn't have time to do multiple takes. You got it in one take, and there was really not much time to even make sure that things looked good, sounded good, or anything like that. In fact, it was actually a little stressful. By the end of this, stopping to edit these, I'm not enormously fond of my face or my voice to begin with. I hate my face and my voice after this. It will be okay. I'm sure I will get over it. I've had to work with things that I hate before. However, that actually wound up pushing me even farther, because I was able to break through that problem as well. I was making myself post the updates, and there was that part of me bristling against it, but I didn't want to stop. I really wanted to finish it. And that's also part of the reason that I insisted on staying up and completing everything before I went to bed, because I wasn't sure how I would feel when the momentum fell away and suddenly, should I? Does it matter? Yeah. And it's done. I'm really grateful. I do feel more comfortable in general with the camera, and more as if it doesn't matter. The things that were bothering me aren't quite as important, and that's a good thing. I think there's plenty of room to grow, but also more ability to breathe, and it's going to be okay. As far as the other goals that I had with this story, I wanted to hit 40,000 words. I wanted to have a complete story, and both of those I was able to reach. One of the key things that I think helped me to stay calm with it is that when I sat down on Saturday, and I did take some time to outline where it was. Once I rewrote for a little bit, and then I sat down to figure out where did I think the story was going and start writing out notes, and I would update those notes. And starting on, I think it was starting at about the end of the first day, I was looking for and noting possible places where the story could end even if it went long. And you heard me talking about that in the videos where I'm saying that this might be a good place, that might be a good place, and such like that. Now, the story outline did change somewhat. The amounts that I thought were needed, I underestimated in some places and I overestimated in others. For instance, it turned out that I had an incredibly simple solution to removing one of the chapters, which, oh, thank goodness, because I don't think I could have written anything more. And that was that I needed to remove one of the characters from my protagonist. Karu couldn't have this person with her because she needed, it was important for this that she be alone, more or less. And I was going to have a whole chapter dedicated to her, and like, he can't see this, oh my goodness, I need to convince him that he needs to go. And suddenly I realized, I have a villain. I have a villain who does villainous things. Oh my goodness, this is perfect. I'm just going to have him eliminate this character. He's going to send him off someplace. It's going to be great. I'll figure out what happened to him in the sequel. Who cares right now? Just get him out of here. Bye-bye. And so that eliminated one chapter, and I was incredibly relieved to do that. I mean, I like this character. I hope to see him again, but bye. As far as the other chapter, I realized I didn't need it because it was going to just be this chase through this wilderness of black leafless trees and icy rivers with creatures that resemble hyenas with manic laughter and a little bit of dragon scaling, though that might have fallen out. I don't remember if I added in the other mythical elements. However, they're frightening, and that was the point. It was going to be this whole big chase. And I realized I could end it here. I didn't need as much as I thought, and actually she was getting a lot sicker than I expected, and just considering, I don't know that she can withstand too much more. So I cut it short, and actually I think it wound up working. The one thing that I will say in terms of what's the quality of the manuscript, now obviously I'm biased. You are more than welcome to go and evaluate the manuscript for yourself. I am leaving it up on my website for a time, not entirely sure how long, but I will include the link below. I think that overall it is a good, workable, rough draft. There are a number of areas where it's going to need some smoothing out. It took on a different voice from a lot of my manuscripts, and I'm not entirely sure how I feel about that, but I'm going to play with it more because sound is very important, how the flow works and does it smoothly go and all of those things. However, I am quite certain that I didn't always end or start the chapters at the exact points that I should have. So I want to go back and rework those. I also want to reconsider the chapter length in general, though on average they, with a couple of exceptions, stayed right at about 3,000 to 3,500 words. So that's not so bad, but maybe some shorter chapters wouldn't be so bad either. The end is where I feel like it got the clunkiest, and as I mentioned, I was in an all-out sprint at the end of this. It was just a mad dash for the end to see if I could wrap this up, and I feel like it lacked the punch that I wanted it to have. In fact, I actually was questioning how the end was going, and I was sitting there thinking, like, I don't think the unicorn should be here, and in my mind, I'm grabbing myself and it's like, woman, you have less than an hour to go. You are bringing that unicorn in because you don't have a better idea, and you set up the unicorn to come in. You are bringing the unicorn in. Bring the secret unicorn. So I did, and we'll see how it works. I may change that. I'm curious to see. I'll probably let ask a few friends to look over it once we're closer to the time and, you know, see how that goes. Now, as far as, let's see. I have a few questions on here that people had asked me, and I'm thinking I might address those in separate videos. In terms of the how is the question that I have received the most often. For the most part, it really was just deciding I was going to do it and not letting myself get hung up on any of the concerns. Like, for instance, I mentioned I had my dice the whole time. I have my timers. And so when I would reach a difficult point in the story, I would force myself to just make a decision. If I couldn't make a decision within 5 minutes, then I made my list of options, you know, sometimes just as few as 2 or 3, and then I would roll a dice. and I made myself stick with it. And that, I think, was a huge key to getting this done. Similarly, it was like with the ending with the unicorn. If I had had more time, I think that ending would have tripped me up. As it is, there are things that I like in it. It is a little bit quiet and it's a little bit heartwarming. And finally, it's not raining. I mean, most of the story takes place in the rain. And I was sitting there and thinking, why did I do this? And she's got a cold all the way through and thinking, I just was so vicious to this. Poor character, poor Karu. But that has really helped. And I've been thinking, a lot of times indecision can chew up a good chunk of time. So I think that was about it. I do apologize. I'm still fairly tired. It's going to be a quiet day of doing light things and not a huge amount of writing. I've gotten a little bit done today, but yeah, I'm looking more at, okay, let's do things that aren't going to make me have to think too much that maybe I've been putting off. So I hope that you guys had a wonderful Labor Day weekend. What were you up to? And if you were involved in this contest, how did you feel that it went? Did you enjoy it? And would you do it again? And if you're not, would you ever consider doing this contest? It's one I do recommend, I have to say, because it does force you to focus on completing something, and that's an incredible thing. So I hope that this video makes sense, and I will see you all later. Bye.